Hello there ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul TX14 Walsh and welcome to an all new World of Warships gameplay. In this episode I'll be sailing out in the Tier 6 German destroyer known as the Geda in a Tier 7 domination match on the map New Dawn. Joined by my friends Ben, callsign Lamari, and Z, callsign Zeron, who are sailing out in the Hatsuharu and Dunkirk respectively. The overall premise of the gameplay is focused on the teamwork between Ben and myself. To elaborate, with there being only 3 destroyers on each team, standard practice would see 1 destroyer go to each objective. Instead, we intend to work together to quickly take each objective and defeat the opposing destroyers that we encounter. As I analyse the gameplay, I'd like to draw your attention to 2 main areas for discussion. Number 1. Role swapping. During each encounter with the enemy's destroyers, Ben and I switch who leads the engagement and who provides support to help maintain our health pools. And secondly, defensive usage of smoke. We intend to use our smoke screens to disengage from the enemy fleet at the end of each destroyer encounter. With the forward covered, let us get into the gameplay. As we load into the match and look at the team sheets, one thing immediately comes to mind from the enemy team's destroyers, and that is they have the Tier 6 premium French destroyer known as the Aigle. It has the highest health pool of any destroyer at Tier 6 and some very dangerous torpedoes as well, with a maximum damage per torpedo of 18,400. Or in other words, the ability to one-shot any destroyer at its tier, albeit apart from our own, because we have the Survivability Expert Captain skill, which kicks our health pool up to 18,600, but nonetheless dangerously close. We spawned in immediately in front of Objective Bravo, which means Ben and I have the shortest route to get to that objective, and that really does work to our advantage, because Objective Bravo, in my experience with New Dawn, is the key objective on this map. It's right in the centre, which means it's at the heart of all the action that goes on. And once your team has Objective Bravo, you can choose which way you want to play out of the objective for the rest of the match. Do you move northwestwards towards Objective Alpha and push the enemy team into a corner up there? Or do you do the same towards the southeast with Objective Charlie? Or do you perform a defensive line and just hold on to Objective Bravo as your anchor point? Or do you push all the way through into the enemy spawn in the southwestern corner of the map? You have multiple options, whereas if you just take Objective Alpha, then you have to push southeastwards gradually in order to be able to extend your team and push the enemy team back, which is a lot harder because the enemy team is going to know exactly where you're coming from. And as we make our way towards Objective Bravo, note here Ben and I are taking 2 different entry points. Now this is important because it gives us the ability to see the entire objective when we start the engagements, rather than only seeing a limited view of the objective, where I cannot currently see the southwestern corner of the objective because of the landmass in the dead centre of Objective Bravo. Meanwhile, Ben cannot see across the objective perhaps into the southeastern corner because he's got a landmass off to his port side right now, but I can see into that corner effectively. So by spreading our vision out, we're going to see the enemy destroyers at least at the same time they're going to see us. And you're about to see the fact that if Ben was not on that side of the objective, I would not have seen the destroyer that's coming into Objective Bravo right now because it's hidden behind the landmass off to my port side, and that is the enemy Aigle, which Ben has spotted and we're going to go to work on. Now we have to work fast with the Aigle because they've immediately started to react to the fact that it's a 2 versus 1 in our team's favour. So I've engaged my hydroacoustic consumable to see any incoming torpedoes, the ability to see them out to 3 kilometres or ships out to 4 kilometres. Ben's also opened fire and thrown torpedoes down, and the Aigle is pulling back. I've activated my speed boost just in case I need to perform a quick reaction to any incoming torpedoes that I did not anticipate or did not show awareness to, and I've deployed my smoke screen simply because the Aigle is about to go behind the landmass, and I've said to Ben over voice comms, come into my smoke, because that way you'll be able to become concealed and therefore not take any more incoming damage from the enemy ships that are sitting further back, such that their battleships still moving out to spawn. Now this also means that whilst we're hidden we can take the objective quickly, because there's 2 of us in the objective, meaning the capture time is 30 seconds, not 60 seconds, and the Aigle, having moved behind the landmass off towards the southeastern side of the objective, is no longer going to be able to contest it for the time being and still take some time to get around. The Z's already informed us over voice comms as well that the Mayhan is currently retreating from Objective Alpha. You've got an opportunity to shut it down as it seems to be meandering towards the western side of Objective Bravo. So note here I use my speed boost to come out of my smoke, charging and go after the Mayhan in an aggressive fashion. I want to try and shut them down. Now I'm not choosing to move directly towards the Mayhan because I want all 4 of my 150mm cannon able to shoot at it. And you'll see that Ben has decided to move behind the landmass to my starboard side. And this is to take a little bit of the aggravation off of his ship because he lost quite a bit of health in the initial engagement with the Aigle. So I want to be able to take the brunt of the incoming fire for the time being, such as the armour piercing rounds from the enemy Leander and the Warspite off in the distance, and we can see that we're trading very effectively here with the Mayhan in a 1 versus 1. Ben now being able to contribute with some high explosive here, using the Japanese alpha of his high explosive to great effect, and that Mayhan is a sitting duck in the water almost, as they've broken apart and they're out of the game for our first kill and first blood. Now at this point, Ben's decided to throw down his smoke screen and I'm moving in towards it in order to disengage from the enemy fleet. And whilst I'm still going to take 1 or 2 hits perhaps as I move towards the smoke, what it means is the enemy team now loses the ability to use the 20-second spotting window due to the fact I've been firing my guns and there's enemy ships still in range of my guns, i.e. increased detectability for that 20-second window. They have no ability to exploit that when I go into the smoke screen. And that means now I'm still over half of my health. Ben's able to effectively just drift around in open water because he's used the smoke to disengage as well. And we can move immediately back towards Bravo. Now why are we heading back towards Bravo so quickly? Well, the Eagle decide to move and reveal their position southwest of Bravo, and we get the feeling that they're holding position just south of Bravo because they want to recontest the objective very soon. So what we're going to see as Ben and I now move back into the objective, Ben again spots the Eagle just as they're about to enter, using his ship's positioning again to set up a crossfire. I'm coming in from the north, he's coming in from the west, and we catch the Eagle on 2 sides, and as they go broadside to throw down torpedoes perhaps towards Ben, it means they're able to continuously rake fire on their ship and remove the remaining portion of their health, approximately 50% of it. Now I'm conscious not to beach my ship, just making sure I'm not going to beach off to the port side, and we're throwing shells over the landmass in the centre here, and the Eagle has gone quiet on its guns, and at the time I didn't realise what they were doing here. And I must say, this is a compliment to the Eagle player. They played smart with their torpedo usage. They went quiet on their guns. We thought they'd perhaps just given up the fight, alternatively they'd overturn their ship and therefore couldn't get their guns on target, because I believe the turret traverse of the Eagle is rather poor. But instead what it turns out is they threw down 1 set of torpedoes towards my ship and 1 set towards Ben's ship. Fortunately we had enough reaction time here, but it could have become far worse because we didn't have our hydroacoustic search available, and I must say thank you to the spotter planes that saw those torpedoes. Now returning to the action, we've taken out 2 enemy destroyers, there's only 1 left. And you remember very early on in the game, Objective Charlie was contested, and that's immediately told me that the Hatsuharu's got to be in the southeastern corner of the map, because we haven't seen them spotted at any point in the game, so they're playing open water concealment to their advantage. If they decide to come towards Objective Bravo, it's very likely we would have A, seen their ship, it would have been spotted as the engagement distances get closer and closer around Objective Bravo, or alternatively, we would have seen a number of torpedoes being thrown our way as the Hatsuharu tried to intervene with their considerable torpedo power. But instead, they have not been revealed, and it would suggest that they've remained on the southeastern side of the map, and perhaps they're trying to torpedo our friendly battleship that's over towards the eastern side of the map, because they haven't got any destroyer cover in front of them to screen them of torpedoes. And that's why the limitations of this approach of sending multiple destroyers to a single objective is that you lose that overall vision coverage across the entirety of the map for a considerable period of time. But I would argue in this instance it's paid dividends in the fact we've been able to eliminate 2/3 of the enemy destroyer threat. And here, rather than go into an open water situation, I'm deciding to creep around the landmass and throw shells into the broadside of the enemy Fuso. And whilst we have a 7.5 second reload, I'm going to smoke here. Unfortunately went to smoke a little bit too late and the Furutaka is going to get a very nice salvo on our ship, but we've got the health pool to trade away because we managed our health earlier on in the game. We're able to just keep throwing shells into the Fuso here, some high explosive, where perhaps we could have used armour piercing instead to reap the rewards. That's debatable. And now we're going to armour piercing, perhaps to get those better rewards from our salvos or the non-penetrations, albeit too late. Our King George V takes the Fuso out of the game, so instead we'll open fire on the Furutaka, and we're just going to rack up some damage casually, because there's no need for us to be out in the open here spotting the enemy fleet, and again, with the limited presence of the enemy Hatsuharu for the time being, what it means is we don't have to worry as much about them suddenly torpedoing our smoke, and anyway we had the hydroacoustic search consumable available, and we switched it on, also providing torpedo protection for our Iron Duke, which is off to our port side right now. With the enemy fleet seemingly gradually pulling back into Charlie once again at this point, what I decide to do is, rather than continue to sit in my smoke screen in a defensive posture really, I'm trying to use it aggressively, but really the German smoke screens on the destroyers are more for defensive use because they have a limited duration, which is why it's a very effective smoke screen in situations such as what you saw at the start of the game rather than right now. I decide to press on and go towards the eastern side of the map to find the enemy Hatsuharu, because I'm expecting, looking at the mini-map right now, if they were moving around the map away from the southeastern corner, they would have definitely been seen. Because look how spread out our team is now. And remember earlier I made the point about the fact that if you play into one of the corner objectives on New Dawn, you find your team gradually being constrained into a corner and the enemy team is able to put pressure on you and gradually control your movement. Well, you're seeing that right now because look how much map control our team has compared to the enemy team. And the fact that we're briefly spotted right here, it was the Furitaka, we got a little bit too close to them, not the Hatsuharu, so we're still looking for them. We haven't got any consumables available at the moment, and then we're very briefly spotted here, and that's starting to indicate it's got to be the Hatsuharu, who becomes undetected, and I read the fact that they were turning behind this landmass here off to my starboard side to indicate they're actually going to pass around it, as I'm trying to pass around it at the same time to pursue them. They'd be going around it, what would be from my perspective, clockwise, as I'm trying to go around it clockwise, so instead I throw down my torpedoes anticipating the clockwise motion, but I decide to pull back completely and get my hydroacoustic search consumable and smokescreen ready. I need a bit of time to get them ready. These torpedoes were a read, which hopefully pays off. And there we go, that's the enemy Hatsuharu completely out of the game with our torpedoes. And now with the enemy destroyer presence out of the game completely, it means now it's all about vision control and the gradual build up of damage. We can see in the top right corner of our screen that we provided 55,000 spotting damage. A lot of that has just simply been because we've been the lead ship out there, providing some vision for our teammates, but not really it's been our intention to actually provide the spotting. If anything, we've been more destroyer hunter centric here. And you'll note that Ben and I split up once we defeated the Eagle on Bravo. Ben's been running around with his torpedoes dealing damage as well. He's got some torpedoes on the way to this Colorado right now. And we're just going to farm some damage while 150mm artillery pieces, while the unique characteristics of the Gator, and something which I'm coming to love more and more as I play this ship, and one day I will review it for you all. Nonetheless, throwing down a smokescreen here to get some brief damage out. Again, trying to use the smokescreen aggressively here, albeit with the limited time available, just over a minute. It's not going to prove too effective, but it does mean the Colorado turns into Ben's torpedoes and gets shredded by them. Good job there, Ben. And now we move forward towards Objective Charlie, but with the points advantage so clear in our team's favour, and the fact we're practically at 1,000 points, there's not much too damage left in this game, and the game's practically at an end. So we're just going to fire one or two more salvos, but otherwise we're going to make our way to the post-game stats. A relatively quick victory, we can see that our battle performance amounted to a total damage output of 48,647 HP. Along the way we picked up 2 achievements, reading from left to right. Devastating Strike, awarded for destroying an enemy ship with a single artillery salvo, torpedo salvo, or aircraft by causing damage in excess of 50% of the destroyed ship's normal health pool. This was secured in the enemy Hatsuharu. And First Blood, awarded for being the first to destroy an enemy ship in the battle. This was secured on the enemy Mayhan. Moving on to the team scores, we can see that we topped the team in terms of base experience earned with 1,750, and that Ben placed 5th with 1,010. Our role over the course of this game was primarily focused on the contest of Objective Bravo in collaboration with Ben. From the outset we made it our goal to take Bravo in order to provide our team with map control. Once taken, we had greater flexibility in where we would deploy our ships for the rest of the match. To secure Bravo, we had to defeat 2 of the enemy's destroyers, the Aigle and the Mayhan. The initial engagement with the Aigle saw us successfully capturing a crossfire due to Ben and I taking different entry points into Bravo. The net results of this were that we both pushed her away from the objective and removed a considerable portion of her very large health pool. This then gave us time to take Bravo. We then quickly reacted to the incoming presence of the Mayhan from Alpha thanks to a call out from Z. With Ben having borne the brunt of the Aigle's firepower, I took the lead in this engagement and used the Gator's health pool to my advantage in trading damage with the Mayhan, whilst Ben was getting his ship into a separate firing position. This engagement was more drawn out and saw the Mayhan go down. Our final joint engagement soon followed with the anticipated return of the Aigle to Bravo, as denoted by the last known position on the minimap. We again managed to capture in a crossfire, this time sinking her for good and concluding the contest to Bravo. For the rest of the game, Ben and I could now act independently, as the only destroyer threat remaining was the enemy Hatsuharu, whose advance from Charlie I actively sought to blockade. Upon eliminating the Hatsuharu, the game came to an end soon after, with vision control now entirely in our team's favour. As for our detailed report, we have no key items to note today, and shall move on. Finally, coming on to credits and experience earned, we can see that after additions and deductions, we took away 212,290 silver credits and 5,514 commander experience. In conclusion, I believe today's gameplay has shown how 2 destroyers working together can prove effective in repelling enemy destroyers and securing key objectives. In a series of 3 quick-fire engagements, Ben and I eliminated 2/3 of the enemy's destroyers and secured Objective Bravo. Where possible, we attempted to use crossfires to amplify the damage we dealt, whilst limiting the damage we received to only one of our ships. In turn, we aimed to switch who would lead each engagement to ensure we shared the damage received between our ships, meaning that both of us were still alive at the end of the match. We also used smoke defensively in order to conclude the first 2 of these engagements, limiting the amount of damage received from any larger enemy ships looking to score some hits through the vision conferred to them by their teammates. The net result of this teamwork was a controlled shutdown of the enemy's destroyer presence, which conferred central map control to our team. This was then exploited to bring a swift end to the game. With that, I've been TX141. If you have enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, comment or subscribe for future World of Warships videos on my channel. Additionally, if you do not currently play World of Warships but are thinking of now giving this highly enjoyable game a try, you can sign up today using the link in the video description. Alas, that is all I've got time for today, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, I bid you fair winds and following seas.